Record in progress. That's okay. No, this is good. We're here to help you make things more simplified and efficient and effective for your students. So, our mission at Ellucian is to empower institutions so you can empower student success. That's all we do. We only do higher education. We don't have any other verticals. We are the leader in higher education with 2,900 institutions across North America and the globe. And we do have, several solutions, of which Colleague is your main enterprise resource ERP, which manages all your day-to-day work at the college. And today we're here to talk about artificial intelligence and specifically what its impact is and how we at Ellucian are incorporating it into the software itself and using it, to more effectively serve students and to use it in a way that makes sense ethically, from both the governance side, the structural side. Obviously, there's the academic side, which we're probably not going to touch on much in this room. So I know I have some academics in the room, but the teaching and learning side and with AI is a whole world unto itself. The enterprise side or the operational side of the software is a different type of world. But I will tell you, I just came from the Higher Education Innovation Conference yesterday, which was in Atlanta, Georgia, after skirting a hurricane, some floods, and a chemical fire to get here. What I saw on the teaching and learning side blew my mind, and I thought I was keeping up with artificial intelligence. But what is being incorporated and what's being able to be what's at the fingertips of your students right now, and what they're playing with, you need to know so you can manage it from the institutional side. So we're going to talk about both, but more importantly, we're going to talk about the whole impact of artificial intelligence on higher education right now as it stands, and trying to stay 2 steps ahead of it. In our world, we have to, and we've been using and working with artificial intelligence for 5-6 years now. But now that it's the thing that it is because of ChatGPT and bots that you hear about constantly, I wanted to bring in. I was just talking to one of the trustees. Remember the Palm Pilot? I loved my Palm Pilot. I could do anything on my Palm Pilot. And then they made me go to a BlackBerry, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then I loved the BlackBerry because I could type so freaking fast with my 2 fingers. And it was a mini computer, but it didn't have the apps, and we all wanted the apps. So now we have the smartphones, and this is the evolution that we are all living in. Our kids are miles ahead of us in some regards, and sometimes they're throwing it all out the window and saying, I don't want to deal with it. So how do you as leaders and trustees deal with it? So I'm going to do a couple things here. One, just kind of overview a little bit of this talk today, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague who's coming to you from Virginia today, Robert Levy, who is our Vice President, Senior Engineer, and AI guru, our champion of artificial intelligence for the company, to kind of take you through some slides and hopefully have a discussion too. Take your questions as we go. We want to make this interactive for you and helpful. But as a company, we are moving at the rate of the speed of light in many ways, because we're technology and we need to help you understand all of this. We've got solutions in play right now that are really specific to, and I think will be very greatly appreciated by community colleges in the area of workforce development. And one of those solutions Robert's going to touch on, and I just want to say, is Journey. And Journey is our new non-credit, credit type solution that actually ties learner outcomes from the courses they're taking directly to workforce data, salary data, and employment data. So a student can actually come in and say, I've done this much. If I do a little bit of this, if I take a certificate here, think competency-based education, but look at it in a way that students would be looking, I've got this, this, and this, and how do I make this happen, right? I have a journey. And what does that educational experience look like? The community colleges are at the heart of that with training for the workforce. And I would, just being in Georgia yesterday and seeing the numbers, in the state of Georgia, they need 18,000 nurses. They need 1.3 million financial data scientists. Have you heard fintech? And the words financial, basically people who can translate data into finance records. They need 1.3 million just in the state of Georgia. Now you multiply that across all the states. We need a lot of people that are trained in a lot of different ways, and they need to be trained on these types of technologies. So with that being said, and a little bit about some of our new direction with the systems we're putting in place, I'm going to turn this over to Robert and let him introduce himself and put these slides up, and we'll just go to town. And Robert, I'll be responsible for questions on this side with my little tiny mic. Okay.
Excellent. All right. First question for me. Are you guys able to see the slides all right?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. All right. Cool. Thanks. It's a pleasure to be able to speak with you all today. I'm Robert Levy, VP of Engineering and AI at Ellucian. My background, I started my career at Microsoft actually working on Windows Mobile to create those apps. And then moved into doing a whole bunch of other AI augmented reality projects at Microsoft before finding myself at KPMG Management Consulting, creating their tech advisory group to help different government agencies and Fortune 500 companies figure out how to modernize and embrace automation and AI and other emerging technologies. And then at some point, it's like, you know what, I want to settle down and focus really on making the world a better place. And there's no better way of doing that than building technology for higher ed, which is how I find myself here with you today. So there is a lot of buzz around AI out there, lots of questions, lots of unknowns, lots of speculation of what's going to happen, and we're very interested in all of these questions and where things are going. But we're especially interested in what our customers are thinking. So we did a survey. This is about a year ago. There's a new version of the survey we're going to see the results of coming out soon, where we asked over 1,000 of our customers, leaders at higher ed institutions across the world, how are you thinking about AI today? Where are you using it? What are you most excited about? What are the concerns that you have, the things holding you back? What are your plans? There's a QR code here if you want to scan it and read the whole thing, but I can give you the cliff notes of some of the key highlights that we found. The first big insight we found is that there is widespread interest in AI. There's a lot of willingness to embrace this technology and expectation that it will have a positive impact. And that positive impact is seen as primarily being around personal productivity for people who are leading an institution, as well as improving student outcomes and supporting students in their journeys. So lots of interest in making things happen. At the same time, AI is not yet being widely used. And where it is, it's usually not in a sophisticated way. It's a lot of, yeah, I've poked at ChatGPT. It seems interesting. I've asked it a few things to help me out. Or I've used a chatbot to answer some questions for me. And those are all totally valid uses of AI, but we're just scratching the surface of the really, really powerful things that AI technology can do for us. Drafting materials, doing predictive analytics to help you see the future and plan ahead, or an assistant that can run through and accomplish complex things for you in a automated or semi-automated way to really have an impact. So there's lots of green space for us to explore together in tapping into additional ways of leveraging AI. And that's just on the kind of the tech, the pattern side. We also asked about where within an institution do our customers see there's the greatest opportunity for AI, and the things that popped up at the top around analytics, institution research, admissions and enrollment, and advising and student success. Those are conveniently areas where we're spending a bunch of our time focusing. So it's great to see the survey results come back in alignment with those. So there are these transformative use cases where we can have a big impact. And the final insight here is for people who aren't yet using it, why not? And the reasons that came back here are all totally valid. Legit concerns around security and privacy, concerns about just understanding this technology, which frankly is very hard to do. Like, it's my job, and I struggle keeping up with how quickly things are evolving these days. Concerns around cost, concerns around bias and bandwidth, and things like that. All very legitimate and reasonable concerns. And what that means is that you need a trusted partner to work through these things with you, right? Taken together, this whole survey made me really happy to see the results come back. So it means there's strong interest. There's a ton of green space for us to do new, innovative things together. There's opportunity for transformative use cases where we can make a huge impact. And there's a need for a trusted partner, right? A partner who deeply understands technology and deeply understands the higher ed landscape and the unique challenges that you're having there. And that's what led to our vision regarding AI. We know that there's a number of challenges that you're facing, and there's even more daunting challenges coming up on the horizon. And our vision with AI is to infuse these capabilities into the products and workflows that you already have today to future-proof the way the institution operates, using data to accelerate the student and institution outcomes. Data is really key to all things AI. Ellucian has a long history of being open and interoperable. We have incredible products on our own, but it's all backed on top of a common platform. And that platform is open, operable, interoperable, extensible, right? We have a thriving ecosystem of partners who have built things on top of our platform. And being able to bring all that data together in one place is extremely powerful. We've got the student information system data, we're the system of record for you, the ERP, we're the system of record for you, and then all the different third-party products that are built on top of our platform. When we're able to bring all that data together in one place, you really get a complete 360-degree view of the institution as a whole and of individual students. And with that, we're able to do really powerful things that can't be done anywhere else in terms of out-of-the-box analytics, machine learning capabilities, and generative AI capabilities. So we want to be the data platform for higher education, and to achieve that, we have these three pillars. One is being a real-time data and integration hub, doubling down on that interoperability and openness to be able to bring things together and do analytics and AI on top of them. And then democratization of access to all this data. Having the data is one thing, but if people can't access it, it doesn't really do you a whole lot of good. So an example of how we handle that of the licensing model that we have for our platform is campus-wide. We don't make you decide who on campus should be allowed to make data-driven decisions. Who am I going to assign a license to? It's everybody. People should have access to different data based on their roles, but everyone should be allowed or required, really, to be leveraging data to make data-driven decisions. And then AI on top of that being embedded into everything to drive the productivity and automation to help people make informed decisions. So let's talk about where the risks come from with AI, right? There's a bunch of concerns that were brought up in that survey, totally legit. So I just want to get to like the heart of where the risks in AI come from. And it's really these two things. But if you learn nothing else about AI, these two things are the most important. AI is predicting probabilities. And understanding the probabilities is really key, right? Getting a weather forecast that says, hey, it's going to be sunny today is nice, it's more useful if you get a forecast that says it's probably gonna be sunny, there's a 15% chance of rain. You might want to, pack an umbrella. That probability, understanding that probability gives you the information you need to make an informed decision. The other one is that AI reflects what it's taught. This stuff is not magical, right? It feels magical, and we'll talk more about that, but it's not magical. It is only reflecting back information that it has been trained on, right? It's finding patterns and trends in order to make predictions. It means if you have garbage data going in, you're going to get kind of garbage results coming out on the other side. But the AI is not fact checking itself. It's not making things up. Even ChatGPT, right? It feels like it's making things up, but behind the scenes, what's happening is every letter it spits out on the screen, it's running a predictive AI algorithm to guess which letter should probably come next in the sentence. And it gives you the one that has the highest probability score. And it keeps doing that until it gets to the end of the sentence. It's all about probabilities and reflecting what it's taught. All right. So you guys have seen me on Zoom now for a solid 20 minutes. This is probably a good time for me to do a little therapy session. Talk about my mother. I love my mother. I love her dearly. She is a very clever woman. She's also a very thrifty woman. She does not like to spend any money, and she has all kinds of ways of avoiding that. So I was once speaking at a conference in Vegas, and she said, that sounds awesome. I want to come see you. Have the company book you a hotel room with 2 beds so I don't have to get my own. And don't worry, I won't be in your way when you're not speaking. I'll be on the casino floor just sipping on the free drinks. Mom, it doesn't work quite that way. They're not just gonna like hand out free drinks. You have to actually gamble. She's like, I know, I got a plan. Her plan, each spin of the wheel, she puts half her money on red, half her money on black. Each spin, one of those wins, the other one loses. She breaks even. She does that over and over again, and then she gets a free drink. That's my actual mom with her actual free drink. Now, here's the catch. As clever and thrifty as she is, the casinos are more clever and thrifty, and they have a way of defeating her. Does anyone want to guess? All right. Dun, dun, dun. The green zero. When that green zero comes up, her free drink just cost her 20 bucks. And as much as we're innovating in higher ed and in AI, the casino industry is innovating as well, right? Eventually somebody saw this, they saw my mom paying 20 bucks for a free drink, and said, you know what, check this out. We're gonna add a second zero to that wheel. And now the house has a 5% advantage. And then years later, I do not know why it took years, but years later, someone was said, okay, that was good. Watch this, 3 zeros. So far, they've stopped at 3. We haven't gotten to 4. I'm not sure why. 3 zeros, the house now has an 8% advantage, and you're not getting the free drinks. That trick does not work anymore. All right, that's enough about my mom. Let's bring it back. AI is about probabilities. On the roulette wheel, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. The only thing that's guaranteed is that if you play enough, both of those outcomes will happen. But the game's fair. It's considered fair because you have transparency, right? My mom would have turned her head to the left a little bit. She would have seen that green zero was there, and been able to reason about the odds and that this plan of hers might not work. The transparency is what makes it fair. AI reflects what it's taught. Your odds in casino games are based on how those games are designed and constructed. So when you think about this, I think about my mom. The rest of the team doesn't think about my mom. But we think about these things with AI and how we do AI safely. Because AI is only reflecting what it's taught, we need strong safeguards for how we develop, test, and maintain it to reduce the likelihood of harm. Harm being AI doing something wrong. And there's a number of different topics that we look at for safeguards in this area. We're not going to get that likelihood to zero, right? Because this is probabilistic, and sometimes the wheel will be in your favor and sometimes it won't. But we can make those odds very good. On the other side, AI is based on probabilities. So we want safeguards in where and how we leverage AI to limit the severity of that potential harm. When it gets things wrong, what damage can come from that, and what safeguards can we have in place to limit that risk exposure. And there's a number of topics that we look at side of things as well. This is something we've been thinking about for a long time. We launched our first AI feature back in 2020. And before we did that, we published our ethics and data use standards. This is a document you can find up on the website. And this basically lays out our core ethical principles, the boundaries of the projects that we will build leveraging AI and the data that our customers entrust us with, because we do take that trust incredibly seriously. And with transparency being one of these core principles, we have published this for people to review. Basically, what all this says is that we respect the humans, right? We respect everyone's autonomy, everyone's individual expertise, privacy, individuality, and healthy skepticism. So we wrote these in 2020. The technology has evolved a whole bunch since then. But these have stood up really well to the test of time.
Hey, Robert.
Yeah.
We're up for just a second, and anyone started a policy yet on AI at your institution? I guess this would be towards the presidents and the board members. Any work on policy? You're working on one? So I see some nodding heads. So it's at the forefront in the next, it was IP, right? It was intellectual property forever in higher ed, is who owns what, and you work at my institution, can you take your course from, Gillette to Powell, whatever. Now it's policy and process and practice around artificial intelligence. So good to know you're starting those conversations and working those out.
Yeah.
And the legislature, yeah, Robert, did you hear that about the legislature?
I did not.
That the Wyoming legislature is looking at, I assume what you mean by that, Aaron, is policy around AI, privacy and AI from the government side.
Excellent. Yeah, there's a lot of work happening in the regulation space. The EU has their AI Act, which is a good start. They're very focused on protecting things they consider to be infringements on human rights. The California had an AI Act that just got vetoed, so we'll have to see where that goes. And their version was less focused directly on human rights, but more on quantifiable monetary damages. There's lots of different models that are being explored. But generally speaking, what we found is, we have these core ethical principles. None of the regulations are like, hey, you should be good and ethical. They're all looking at human rights and monetary damages. But when we ground things in just core ethical principles and respecting the humans, we end up finding that we're very well aligned with all the different flavors of regulations that are being proposed. Chrissy, you mentioned IP, and that concept is still alive and well in the AI world. I'll call attention to this bullet point here. One of the core principles that we set in 2020 and we're holding to is that the data from one institution will not be used to train AI models that are used by other institutions without consent. This is something where I think there's going to be a lot of interest in building that consent over time, right? There's probably a lot of value in having Wyoming AI models learn off of what's happening at different campuses. But it is not a thing that we will force. This is very much your data is for your AI models and not for anybody else. Cool. The way we put this into practice is through a risk assessment questionnaire, and I'm happy to share the short list of questions. These are questions that we ask of ourselves when we're building a new AI feature into our products. There are also questions that we ask of third parties when we're looking at adopting their AI tech for our own internal use. And these are all questions that align up with the categories I talked about with my mom. They go beyond the existing processes and things we look at for privacy, security, and legal. These are all new risks that are unique to AI. If you're getting started on that journey, the best resource I can recommend is the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. Right, we've been doing this since 2020. The world's kind of caught up with ChatGPT getting everyone real excited. So NIST, this is a federal agency, National Institute of Standards and Technology, I think. They published an AI risk management framework that walks you through, hey, here's different types of harm that could happen. Here's the things you should be looking for. Here's processes you should put in place. Really, really fantastic resource for getting started on this. Okay. So that's the scary stuff, right? Or how we manage the risks and make it actually not all that scary by doing it in a thoughtful way. Let's talk about the good stuff. When we talk to people about their experiences with good AI, they always describe it as it feels like magic. Good AI feels like magic, which brings to mind my two favorite quotes of all time. Arthur C. Clarke, science fiction author, said, "Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And then Teller, of Penn and Teller, an actual magician, says, "Sometimes magic is just someone spending more time on something than anyone else might reasonably expect." Right? The trick is just the sheer amount of thought and ingenuity and effort that went into it that made it feel like magic. And that's something that we find to be true in the products that we're building out with AI and the effort that's going into them to make them feel like magic. So let's talk about some of those. First, some context. This is Ellucian Experience. Ellucian Experience is our UI hub, our student engagement hub, your workspace for employees, bringing all the different user experiences, the websites, web apps you will use, bringing them all together into a single pane of glass. So you have one place to go as your launch point for everything that you do with your institution. It's got a great web experience. It's got a great native app. It's got integrations with your watch, push notifications. Really fantastic. And this is all open and interoperable, which means our customers, our partners, teams throughout Ellucian are rapidly building more and more awesome things inside of the Ellucian Experience framework. Here's an example here. One measure of student success is landing that dream job. So, whoops, go back. I meant to pause my video. Landing that dream job. And I remember when I first started interviewing for my first job, I was super freaking nervous and I had no idea. Am I underprepared? Am I overprepared? How am I supposed to prepare? I don't know. It was very overwhelming. How might AI be able to help with that? In this example, I recorded this for a conference we did where William Shatner was the keynote speaker. So in this example, I'm an anthropology student who my dream job is to be a captain in the Starfleet. Kind of a silly example, but you can imagine it working elsewhere. The first thing the AI does here is it pulls back information about that company that I'm interviewing at. It gives me some key things that you should know about before you go meet with these people. The next thing is generating personalized interview tips. And this is my favorite feature of this capability is the personalization. So we're telling you based on the job that you're interviewing for, here's topics that are going to come up likely, maybe in your interview, and things that the interviewer is going to be looking for. But we don't just give you like generic, here's how to think about those topics. We look back at your studies, right? What's your major? What are your extracurriculars? What jobs have you had on campus? All the information that we can pull together about that student to give you personalized feedback on how to present yourself in the best possible light when answering questions on these topics. Super cool getting that personalized guidance in an immediate way.
Hey,
And then you
Robert, can I just say that the Starfleet Commander job description was all part of our eLive this spring? Because we had William Shatner there. So
That's right. Yes.
that's why we use this as an example for Starfleet Command job. Okay.
Cool. And then the final part of this is being able to do a mock interview, right? So at the student's convenience, for however long they want, they can get these practice interview questions and practice how they would respond to these. And these interview questions are going to be, again, personalized based on the information we know about the job you're applying for and the data we have about you and your experiences in your studies, giving you feedback along the way. And at the end, if you don't do so hot, we're going to send a note to your advisor to provide you some extra coaching because that human relationship is still super important. We want to leverage AI for automation and streamlining and personalization, but we can't dismiss the value that those human relationships can have of being able to sit down with a coach to work you through things. What makes this really powerful is what we call context. I'm going to get a little bit nerdy. When you're working with generative AI, say you go to ChatGPT and you ask ChatGPT, draft a course for me for Accounting 100. It will do that. It will do an okay job. But what makes it really good is when you can say, draft a course for Accounting 100, and oh, by the way, you should know, here's the gaps I have in my current curriculum. I'm trying to move to flexible instruction. Here's my challenges with faculty load. Here's the rest of our course catalog. The more context you can give it, the better and more helpful it's going to be. So that goes back to that data that we were talking about, right? Bringing all that data together lets us do amazing things like those personalized interview preps. All right, the next example, part of automating and streamlining things involves taking paper processes and forms and workflows and digitizing those. And we've had a product in the market, Student Forms, that helps with creating digital forms for a long time now. And now we've added generative AI capabilities to it. So instead of coming in and clicking and dragging and dropping to construct a form, I'm able to just say, I want to create a form that is surveying students on their student well-being. Right, I can describe the form I want, and the generative AI will say, oh, okay, cool. I'm going to make a really good guess at what fields you're going to want on those forms, what types of fields those should be. And for the ones that are drop downs, I'm going to make a really good guess of what the different options are that should be in those drop downs. The AI helps you out here and very quickly going from nothing to like 90% of the way there. Then from there, you can go into like the classic mode where you're clicking and dragging and dropping to fine tune things and get it just perfect. But it saves a ton of time. And this is a pattern we're going to see more and more throughout the Ellucian portfolio, of where you're able to jumpstart things by just describing what you want. And then we'll do a draft that gets you 90% of the way there.
So Robert, how far away are we future-wise from those prompts being spoken into the computer versus typed into the computer?
The tech is there now. It's waiting for it to be a good idea from a social acceptance kind of perspective. I'm very closely watching what's going on with ChatGPT because they've added voice features where you can talk to it. And as that becomes a more common, socially acceptable thing, that the tech is there for us to light up.
How many in the room have used Chat GPT? Raise your hand, okay? And how many of you have used the more sophisticated Chat GPTs or are paying for even the premier version, which I think I pay, that gives you even that higher level? Have any of you tried those? Yes. So you know what we're talking about with when you get from one level, like like it's back to the BlackBerry versus smartphone version, right? It's coming at us so quickly that the improvements are coming as fast as we just learn how to do the basic, help me write this email in a more concise way, prompt to much more sophisticated prompts. So
100%. Cool. So let's move on to another product. This one is called Smart Plan. And the easiest way to think about Smart Plan is it's Google Maps for academic planning. If you think about your current location being the courses you've taken, your grades, your placement scores, exceptions you've been granted, that's your current location. Your destination being the degree or certificate or something else that you're pursuing. Then there's your optimal route. How do I get from where I am to that destination? And then an ETA, right? How long is it going to take for me to get from where I am to that degree or that certificate that I'm trying to achieve? And this is something that Smart Plan helps you do. It allows students and their advisors to plan out what courses you're going to take over the course of several terms in order to achieve that certificate or that degree or other goal. And it allows you to, here's where some AI is going to come in. As a student, I'm going to come in and say, hey, I just got a new job. I am no longer available Tuesdays and Thursdays until after 1 o'clock. I block those slots on my calendar. And now Smart Plan is going to go and automatically recalculate what changes need to happen to my schedule to keep me on track for completing my program in the fastest way possible. And it'll visualize for you with those green arrows, hey, we moved here, we moved this from there to there. So you can see exactly what's happening. You can also manually say, hey, I want to take this course in this semester. And it'll go and recalculate, okay, based on that, that actually doesn't work. There's a couple different options for you. We can help you go down a path where we're minimizing the changes, right? Hey, if you want to add this here, that's going to scooch this out, which means your graduation will move out a year and that's going to cost you this amount of money. Or, hey, here's another option. If you agree to make these changes, then we'll minimize, instead of minimizing changes, we'll minimize how long it takes you to complete your degree. So this is a tool that we make available both to students and their advisors. They both see essentially the same thing for collaborating. And once I've mapped out my plan, this feeds directly into doing course registration. So I can execute on that plan and be on the most optimal path possible to getting that certificate or degree. Pretty darn powerful. All right. The next one is Virtual Advisor. So this is a chatbot specialized in financial aid, but it can do whatever. In 2021, this actually won an award for the best use of AI in EdTech. The reason this tool is powerful is because of all of the human effort that went into it behind the scenes. Financial aid questions are one of those things where you don't want to be probabilistic in the answer, right? Like if you give someone a wrong answer to a financial aid questions, the implications of that they can be pretty severe, right? Setting someone down a wrong path and causing them a whole bunch of problems that'll be difficult to dig out from. So we don't do this in a probabilistic way. This isn't just going to ChatGPT where it's guessing what letters come next in a sentence. Everything that a student sees or a parent sees when using Virtual Advisor was written by a subject matter expert. So you know it is accurate, it is up to date. The AI is in place here to find the matching between the student or the parent asked this question, here's the answer from our catalog that goes to that question. So we've got this catalog, not just of text answers, but also of videos that explain things and some data integrations to give personalized results. Like, hey, it looks like you matched to 32 different scholarship opportunities. Would you like to see them? So you get that personalization. We also have automatic translation features in here, where if someone is speaking a foreign language, we'll detect that and respond back to them in that same foreign language by automatically translating things. What's really powerful though is not just like, hey, it's got all these questions, it's got all these answers, and we've been evolving and expanding that over many years. But when we see a question come in that we don't have an answer to, it goes to a human, right? You'll see that question, so you can engage with that. But our team also is looking at all the unanswered questions or the unmatched questions so that we can determine, okay, is this something we need to add to our catalog? Is it something we need to expand our AI training on so it'll match to an existing question, etc. Constantly being evolved. There's a human behind the curtain in making this work. We are, however, also investing in generative AI to expand this. We don't want AI making up answers on the spot to give a student, but it's a great way of helping the administrators generate new content, right? Looking at a question that came in that we didn't have an answer for, rewind a little bit, we can ask AI to draft an answer. And it might be right, it might be wrong, but it's going to draft that and give me a really strong starting point, right? So instead of me having to craft an answer from scratch, which is going to take a whole bunch of time, I get something to start with that I can review and tweak if it's not correct, and then off I go. This is going to continue to expand to be made even smarter, where we're going to crawl your public website and other documents that you upload to make it even easier to just automatically build out a richer, more customized catalog of questions and answers for that chatbot. Keeping a human in the loop to ensure that all the answers that are being provided are factually correct. This is not a place where you want to be probabilistic. All right, let's jump to an area where we are probabilistic. Student retention. Inside of Insights, which is our reporting and analytics and business intelligence tool, we have a predictive model that looks at the past to identify what are the common characteristics of students who were not retained. And we're able to visualize that for you to tell you, hey, here's the leading indicators of students at your institution not retaining. And it gets really smart where it's not just like, hey, your GPA, if you have a low GPA, you're probably not going to stick around. We'll tell you if someone has a GPA below this point and they have a course load greater than this point and a financial burden of greater than this, we'll find those combinations of factors that lead to someone being disproportionately likely to not make it to graduation. And by having that information, you're able to do really targeted outreach campaigns to drive student retention, knowing where those weak spots are. So we train a model based on your historical retention, but then we use it to create predictions about your current students. For each current student, we're able to come up with a prediction. Is it a high, medium, or low probability that they'll be retained? And not just like, hey, here's the predictive score for Sally. We will tell you why we believe that about Sally, right? That transparency, again, is really key to doing this in a safe and ethical way. Giving you that transparency so you can evaluate, do I believe this? Or, hey, what thing should I nudge on when I'm engaging with Sally? That transparency is key. The other thing we do with transparency is we roll up all of those scores, all of those predictions, and let you look at that across different demographics, right? To see, are there disparities in predicted results for different demographics? We do not use demographic information in training the model, because that would not be an appropriate ethical use of this technology. But we do want you to see if the other factors that shouldn't have bias in them, that shouldn't be discriminatory. We want to see, are there patterns there that lead to discrepancies across different demographics? Trying to do this in a powerful and respectful and safe way to help you make data-driven decisions to drive student retention. And we're creating this in on top of a generic platform so that we will be able to crank out a whole bunch more predictive models similar to this for all kinds of different topics. I'd love to hear ideas on other areas where you think predictive capabilities would be powerful. Let's do one more inside of the insights world. Democratizing access to data is one of our key principles. And there is a lot of data, but if you don't know where to look or how to interpret it or how to find it, how to search through and get to the report or the dashboard or the pie chart that you're looking for, the data being available to you isn't going to do a whole lot of good. So we have an AI assistant that's coming to Ellucian Insights, which lets you ask a question. You ask a question in plain natural English, and we will find the report or the dashboard or the visualization that gets you an answer to that question. This is really taking that democratized access to things to the next level, right? Because you think your institutional reporting teams are probably constantly being asked, hey, can you create a dashboard? Can you create a report that answers this or that? The data is all there. If only we can make it easier for people to get access to that data so they can make those data-driven decisions. Super powerful. All right. So this is my nerd slide. Then I'll show you the pretty version from our design team. When we talk to faculty, staff, administrators around why do people go to school, we get a whole bunch of different answers. Interestingly enough, when we ask students, why do you go to school? There's only one answer. It's, I want a better job. So you go to school to pick up skills so you can get that job. What's interesting about these things is the courses, the skills, the jobs. From a nerd perspective, those are all three different data sets. Right? There's a database over here of what jobs are out there. There's a database over here with your course catalog. There's a database published by the federal government, actually, of a list of possible skills. But there's nothing that maps them together. That's a powerful use case for generative AI. With generative AI, we can ask it, hey, look at these courses, look at these skills. Tell me which skills are taught in which course. Or on the other side, look at these job postings and look at these skills. Which skills are needed for each of these jobs? And once we've had AI draft those relationships, we can do some really cool things. We can very easily answer questions like, hey, I'm in this job right now. I want to get into this job. What additional skills do I need? And the follow-up, what courses will teach me those skills? Or taken from the institution side, I'm looking at my my regional job forecasts. And I want to know, how do I need to evolve my course catalog to make sure that I'm creating the next generation of graduates that will meet the needs of those job forecasts, right? Am I teaching the right things that are going to be needed in the future? And all we need is a little bit of generative AI to draft the connections between those different things. And that is what we're creating with Journey, which Christy teed up a little bit earlier on. Journey is a powerful tool for lifelong learning, continuing education, enabling people to track their skill development and their goals, their career goals, and how to get from point A to point B. So let's look at a video demo here. I come into Journey and I will see that, hey, I've set a career path. I want to become a business management consultant. And here are different jobs that can be on that path from where I am to becoming a business management consultant. I can drill into that and see the details. I can see different courses that are offered based on the skills that go into that. I can see a view of my skills. Whoops, rewind right there, pause right there. Based on the courses I've taken, based on my transcript, based on my professional history that I've uploaded into the system, we can figure out here's where you rank on these different skills, and then map those to where you need to be. Providing for you different learning opportunities based on the skills that you need to get. I'm gonna fast forward. You can see courses that are available to close the gap on those skills with one click, register for those specific courses. And then to make this really appealing to future generations, current generations, we really want to gamify this, right? Education is not a game, but by making it feel gamified, it becomes much more engaging, where people can see as they take courses, different skills in this lovely map of all the possible skills that can be taught within your institution. They can see, here's what I've learned. Here are the things that I need to learn. Here's adjacent things that I might find interesting and could take. Getting that view and being able to filter it both by the things that are aligned with my career path towards a business management consultant, or maybe aligned to an alternative career path as a e-commerce web designer, really helps me figure out what courses I should be taking to achieve my goals. Super powerful and fun to use. Moving you in the right direction and getting signed up for the right courses.
And then the job data, the data coming in on the job side is coming from Department of Labor, Burning Glass, and other databases of salary data, jobs, job descriptions, so that
Yeah.
they can really see those different possibilities with just that one title of what business consultant or whatever it was. So.
Yep. Yeah, so the stuff I showed in that last clip, that's shipping at the end of this year. The next phase is kind of the other side of it, where we're looking at the job market and your course catalog to tell you, hey, there's a lot of interest in web services developers in your local economy. I'm not sure if that's true for you guys, but there's a lot of demand for that type of job. Here's the skills and how they line up to what's already taught at your institution, how well you have those skills covered, but also the financial side of those jobs. People who go into those careers are projected to have this income, and here's how much growth we expect to see over the next few years for those jobs. And then draft for you improvement plans, where the AI can look at your course catalog and say, hey, if you update this course to, instead of covering X, instead cover Y, that will move the needle on setting up your students for these future needs. And again, this isn't the AI just like magically doing everything for you. It is drafting things. It is assisting. There's always a human in the loop reviewing and approving and monitoring. We are not taking humans out of things. We are making them superhumans.
I know, and I just had the conversation with the trustee from LCCC, and you were talking about a new program in artificial intelligence that you're offering, right? So I'm just curious, what data points were used to decide that you were going to offer that program? How did the college decide that's where we're going to go with this new program? Oh, and I have, oh, sorry, I asked the question.
I hope it's not a trick question, but we just saw the Janine, and we have some industry partners that are asking the questions. Are you going to provide the kind of people that we need to do some of the things that AI is doing? So there's a big curiosity out there right now, and we want to help set some of the trend for that curiosity satisfaction.
So input from industry, obviously driving that as well as from the college. Any other thoughts around, I mean, that last piece is around workforce development, which I know we're all very much focused on in terms of where you see AI in the workforce, in your area, in the state of Wyoming, where are you hearing and feeling the most type of pressure, I guess, in this area? Or are you? I mean, you thought? Sorry.
Yeah, hi, I'm Brad Sindel. I don't know. Oh, I got, okay, yeah, I was just talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to tell everyone else. No, but in general, kind of, yeah, we all are very interested in jobs, and I think Central Wyoming College, our at-risk rate is like 85% of our students at risk. So the job skills, yes, of course, we all hear soft skills and things like that, and it's hard to measure. And you hear things that, well, if they can show up in time and this, that, and the other. But one thing I think that we focus on, and probably the other colleges too, is I would call there's skills, and then there's like golden ticket skills. And if you have students who are at risk, like 85% at risk, it would be interesting to see these things, like look at all these skills. But sometimes like knowing CAD, knowing ChatGPT, boom, gets you a job. Knowing social media, there are certain times our discourses, and everybody something that really increases your odds to get a job. It can't be like, yeah, here's a bunch of skills, but what is the thing that really guarantees that you'll get something? And so it's like a golden ticket skill.
Actually, I like that. But I think that's exactly what we were talking about with the generative AI, looking at your course catalog, looking at your program, looking at the jobs, looking at the data and saying, what am I not offering? Or am I describing this course in a way that's going to hit on those potential golden nuggets there, So anyone else feel the need to jump in on that? Otherwise, I'll Robert on, I guess, because I know we're at time, but we want to make sure we had time for any questions or discussion. Because this obviously is a big area in terms of a lot of information coming at you, and where do you start? And some of you are already there, and you're talking. Your faculty are using AI in the classroom. We know that. Your students are using AI in their coursework. We know that. So we're this in using it where it needs to be used to enhance these humans, and we like to call them humans, the humans are using on your college campuses, and how to make those tools more effective. Not replace the humans, but for the humans to use them. So I just want to be clear. Yeah.
I'm curious about one question that was referred to. And it was on relative to training on your. And what if your current students aren't your future students? So then your model is trained on people you don't know about. So how might you address that kind of a perspective?
Yeah, that's a good question. We actually, fun story. We built this student retention model back in 2020, which was a weird year to release a student retention model because there are some crazy things happening in the world. Like 2 weeks after we launched that feature, COVID hit the US, and all of a sudden, historical data around what drives student retention is no longer relevant. So that's definitely a valid thing. And there's a couple of things we're doing. One is we're giving you control over how far back into history we look to train. The more data points, the better it's going to be, assuming those data points are valid. But you can set that dial. We will over-index on the more recent data. right? More recent data will count more towards weighting the model and how the math works. And then there's just the transparency, right? By giving you a view into why we're making certain predictions. And when I say we, I mean the robots. Why is the robot making a certain prediction? You can put your thumb on the scale. Like, do I think this is right or not? Or do I have other knowledge that that the AI doesn't have? So I can override that.
Great, thanks, Robert. And thank you, all of you, for this last 45 minutes to an hour. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. I will put a plug in for ACCT. I'm going to be there in 3 weeks, but there will be an AI lab throughout the entire conference to touch, feel, and see all the different kinds of AI that are coming at you. And that's being put on or sponsored by the corporate council. We're the corporate members of ACCT. We obviously, Ellucian will have sessions out there. You know, there's a lot of sessions for trustees to attend, but more importantly, make sure as we reestablish our relationship here in Wyoming, with, I don't know if that's a good word. We've always had a relationship with you here in Wyoming. We're your technology partner, but we want to make sure you know we're here for you in these regards too, much beyond just the day-to-day. We're working towards the future with the technology, but we're also here as your partner. So however we can be there for you, that's why we're here. And Aaron, I think I'll flip it back to you. Robert, thank you so much for coming
Thank
in.
you all. Bye.
Thank you for that, Robert, so much, and Christy. We learned something here today. I did. Remind a little bit. This is amazing. And like you said, it's in our lives in so many ways. It's in your students' lives. So how can we help the human element just do a better job and be more efficient? So WACCT is going to continue to try and be there, provide more resources, works another webinar in the spring to bring you more information. So I appreciate who's here. You know, tell all your friends who weren't here that they missed out, but we did record it. So we're just trying to make sure we get a farther reach, you know, with these sorts of events. Sheridan folks have some impacts from the fire, so they had to stay back. So I know we would have had a few more people in the room, but appreciate it very much. Thank you.
What topics and what drives you and what you want to see and hear from us? I mean, we can make these assumptions all day long. We know AI is big. We know